This is Dawn Goldberg with writingfromyoursoul.com, and welcome again to the Soulful Creative Marketing Series. So today we are going to play around with another one of my favorite strategies, and again, that word play is pretty important, even if you may not think that the word play belongs anywhere in your business. I actually think it's a pretty important part of what we do in business. Our businesses influence our lives influence our businesses, and if we can't have an element of play in there, or at least whatever we think of as play, that piece that speaks to our passion, our purpose, why we're doing this, our inspiration, creativity, all of that, if we can't bring that all together in our businesses, then what? And I don't know what the answer is to that question, but instead of dealing with the questions of the universe, why don't we talk about one of the actual real strategies that you can use anytime there is something that you need to write for your business. And you'll get to see it in action with me. So I'm going to once again head for my Sharpies. This time we'll use blue. And today we're going to use a version of mind mapping. And you've probably seen this before. It's not necessarily new to you perhaps, but what might be new is that it can look any way you want. You can use it any way you want. So we're going to start out today with an article that I want to write, and it is on protecting your creative energy. Hey, this is kind of like a movie trailer. You get to see it before it actually comes out live. So I'm going to put it in the middle. And one of the reasons why I think mind maps work better than outlines, besides the fact that our brains may just work that way, some people can think and see outlines, other people can't. But one of the reasons why I think mind maps work, especially for women, is we see relationships and we actually think in terms of circles rather than hard angles, believe it or not. And so while you can convert a mind map to an outline, and you can convert an outline possibly to a mind map, in our brains it may not work as easily back and forth that way. So just an idea of why a mind map might work for you when, say, an outline that you were taught how to write in school doesn't work for you. So this is my article. This is my article title probably, or something around that. This is the theme of my article. Well, I know that the first place that I'm going to start out with is the story I want to tell. And when I'm thinking about that story, I'm thinking about maybe the elements that go into that story. It's going to be where I was, and that's actually important. I'm not just doing the journalism thing, answering the 4 important questions, or 5 important questions, but it has to do with why this came about, why all of a sudden I'm writing about why it's important to protect your creative energy. So the where, the what happened. Yes, I know, I'm doing those W questions. And what I learned. That's what I'm going to think about first. And that's going to be the first part. And then, because I'm visual as well as very much word-based, I'm going to switch colors when I talk about what's the next thing I'm going to write about in this article. And it's going to be what are the different ways that you can protect your creative energy. And one of those is to be conscious. I have to make sure I spell everything right. Another color. Another one is going to be transition. And I really do like circles. I think in circles, and like I said, I think many women do. I'm also going to be, as a strategy for protecting creative energy, I'm also going to be talking about setting up boundaries and shields. There's also the importance of centering and grounding. Now, as I'm thinking about this is my pre-planning, this is my idea generating, this is my brainstorming. I obviously am not writing full sentences and paragraphs for this article yet. So this is part of the process that we should go through. It's going to actually make our writing that much better, because then we've played around with some of these concepts. And so part of my playing around is figuring out this centering and grounding. Is this one whole element by itself, or is it a sub-element? For example, is it actually part of boundaries and shields? And I don't know that yet. I need to play around with this, but the idea is that I've put this all out here. I have all these elements. I understand that this is where I'm going to start, and then I'm going to talk about at least these 4 different, you can see it right now, right? The 4 ways to protect your creative energy. And that's where I will start. One of the things that I talk about in the process, the writing process, is how this is one important stage, this playing, this brainstorming, this idea generating. And it's a stage all by itself. It's one process, or it's one step in the whole writing process, and now I should leave it alone. I could walk over to my desk and start writing out full sentences, but I know I need a little bit more time for this to marinate and germinate in my head. I will probably leave it up here on the easel so that I have it to look at. That also means I can come back to it at any time and add things. If I come up with a great sentence or a great introduction or a great conclusion, I can write that on here. And then when I'm ready to actually write the article, I will take this and start forming the article in its or very close to what it's going to look like in its finished form. And then of course there's the editing process, but that's not what this series is about. So to recap, you see what I've done. I've just played around, took a couple of minutes, played around with this concept, this idea that I have, put it all on there, and that's it for now, because it needs to sit and gel and let other ideas come to the fore, because now that I've done this brain dump, now other things can come out. So I'd love to hear how you use mind mapping, if you do, in any of the writing you do for your business, and I'd like to know how it's going for you. So thank you again for being part of the Soulful Creative Marketing Series. This is Dawn Goldberg with writingfromyoursoul.com.